The world's greatest road race, the 1993 Daido Hoxan World Solar Challenge. The race is run over 3,000 kilometers, the equivalent to racing from Norway to Italy, and the cars are only powered by sunshine. It is a race across Australia, from Darwin to Adelaide down the Stuart Highway. This is a first-class strip of bitumen, without a set of traffic lights or a major crossroad. The first World Solar Challenge race was held in 1987. The General Motors Sun Racer left the other competitors behind when it set an average speed of 67 kilometers per hour. The project director behind the Sun Racer was Howard Wilson.
Howard, how has the Sun Racer's shape contributed to the shaping of current solar cars today?
Well, I think as you can see by most all the cars running in the race that they draw their heritage from the Sun Racer. The breakthrough the Sun Racer made, I think, in 1987 was it was the first car that was built that had the possibility of achieving speeds of over 40 miles an hour. And it's a very strong brake around 35 to 40 miles an hour in the importance of the aerodynamics. Before that time, it was more important to know that you could capture the most sun energy. And so we saw cars earlier than that used tilting panels, which do indeed capture more of the sun's energy, but of course are very poor aerodynamically. But as cars get up into the 40 mile an hour range, then the aerodynamics come strongly forward. And I think our contribution was to realize that a car could be built that would go faster than 40 miles an hour, and then to design it aerodynamically with that thought in mind. And it proved that we were correct when we won the race so handily in 1987. And I think since then, all the best cars that can go at those speeds have emphasized aerodynamics.
Howard, did the Sun Racer make a useful contribution to General Motors' electric car, the Impact?
Yes, it did. The thing that many people don't realize is that the original Impact vehicle was actually designed and built by the Sun Racer solar car team. When we returned from Australia 6 years ago, we were thinking of what had we really accomplished besides winning the race. And we realized that we had learned a great deal about energy efficiency, and we also realized that electric vehicles had suffered in the past by not being efficient enough and therefore not having a long enough range on a battery charge. And so we thought that we could apply the lessons we had learned on the Sun Racer to an electric car which would have a considerably longer range. And so we made the proposal to General Motors to allow us to make the Impact vehicle, and they approved that. And so the result a year later was the Impact.
In the weeks before the start of the race, the more competitive teams are trialling their cars under race conditions, heat, and the occasional dust storm. As soon as the storm passed, Pomona returned to their trialling. Other teams had greater problems to contend with.
Kevin, the George Washington University team had a major disaster. Tell us about it.
In transit, the forklift driver dropped our car, which was in a crate, and punctured the bottom of the car and severely damaged the array.
Have you been able to repair the damage?
Most of it. The chassis, we feel, is strong enough to withstand the race. However, the array has suffered severe damages, and we're not sure we can bring it up to full power.
Kevin, you've just finished trialling. How did the repaired car perform?
We've lost about 30 to 40% of the power our array used to put out. Unfortunately, we're not sure if we can gain all this back. We're still working on the array to get that power back. Otherwise, the car has been doing excellent.
And what do you think you'll be able to cruise at?
That number keeps changing depending on how much power our array puts out. Yesterday, we were averaging about 42, 43 miles per hour.
Kevin, what are the most unique features of your car?
Well, I think the single most important feature of our car is its low aerodynamic profile. Its thickest point is about a foot, and from which tapers out to the edges, which gives us probably the smallest frontal area of any car.
5 cars were damaged in transit to Darwin, including the Danish entry, and the Monash Melbourne car Solution, which suffered a catastrophic breakdown in its electronics.
Ian, the Monash Melbourne car has an electronic problem.
It does indeed. We're fitting a new drive converter for motor speed control and vehicle speed control. The previous converter was seriously damaged by failure of some power electronic MOSFETs, some power electronic switches, which were not up to specification.
Others were flat out just getting their cars assembled. For some, it is just too much. The logistics of transporting and preparing a car for the World Solar Challenge is an enormous task, but the crew of Sunjoy have it well in hand. The Canadians talk through their problems. There is one team from Japan who have no particular interest in winning the race. It represents a science fiction comic strip character called Doraemon. It is an earless cat that has come back from the future to help mankind by educating today's children. Its message is, let's be Earth-friendly and be challenged by the unknown. The World Solar Challenge is the perfect setting to promote these ideas.
You've got to be skinny.
The Australian children are fascinated by the car. Doraemon will average 35 kilometres per hour on its run between Darwin and Adelaide.
Freddie, what changes have you made in the design of your car since the last race?
When we decided to develop a new car, we said the car of 1990 was basically a good concept, so we based on this concept again, and we intended to improve each component by 10%. This was the idea, and what we realized is now about 20% higher average speed than the last time.
Which means you hope to maintain what speed going down the Stewart Highway?
Well, it's a bit difficult to make a forecast, but if we have good weather, this means sunshine, no cloud and no wind, we hope to achieve an average speed of 90 kilometers per hour.
Freddie, what kind of drive system are you using?
This time we are using a motor who is in the wheel, so we have no loss of efficiency by the transmission from the motor to the wheel. The shape is principally the same. It's the form, the shape of an air wing. That's the idea of the shape of the car. But we have made it a bit smaller, and mainly the canopy is less high than the last time, and also the wheels are encapsulated in a better way than the last time.
I understand you no longer have a steering wheel in the cockpit.
That's right. We didn't have enough space for the steering wheel, so we have 2 sticks to steer the car.
You have mounted the motor at the rear wheel. What advantage is there in that?
It's dramatic and interesting, and it takes a while to explain this. It turns out that in solar cars there's what we call a weight-power trade-off. That is, if you put an extra kilogram in the car, it takes a certain amount more power to push it along. It turns out, and it's very simple to do these calculations, that the weight-power trade-off for solar cars is around about a watt a kilogram. Now, some people have worked that out, but not everybody has. But it means that if you put an extra kilogram in the car, it's going to take another watt to drive it. It also means that if you take a kilogram out of the car, it takes a watt less to drive. But then you've got to invert that question. You say, what happens if I put something in there which weighs a kilogram but increases the efficiency? Does it pay off? We've always known that in the wheel motors had to be heavy. General Motors' first motor weighed 4.5 kilograms. The best motor in the last race weighed 3.5 kilograms. People have converged on this very small, fine motor solution. But then you've got to think about what happens if I make it a bit heavier, because in the wheel it has to be heavier. So we actually added 8 kilograms to this motor. It runs at 16 kilograms, and by adding 8 kilograms, it turns out that we can get these extraordinary efficiencies of 96% and save the transmission losses, which effectively is about 150 watts.
David, what cruising speed do you expect the Honda vehicle to maintain?
The 1993 Dream can cruise at a speed of 86 kilometers per hour under pure solar energy. When you kick in the batteries, we can go over 130 kilometers per hour.
What modifications have you made to the aerodynamics?
It's mostly come from the underbody aerodynamics. We use a turntable which pivot the wheels and the spats at the same time, and this has greatly improved the underbody characteristics.
What materials have you employed in making the wheels?
This year the wheels are made of magnesium. We went that route because they're stronger and lighter weight, and also for the rear wheel we have the in-wheel mount motor, and it would have been impossible to use the string wheel as before.
David, you have brought 2 cars. What's the purpose in that?
Mainly one is the test car, and we'll be able to swap pieces and components as we go through the race as we need them.
And in preparing the car, there are just 2 core molds?
The upper shell is a one-piece monocoat carbon fiber, and so is the lower half.
What's the power capacity of the solar cells?
The expected output from the array will be over 1,500 watts.
And your battery system?
We've more than doubled what we had in 1990. We're going with almost the maximum allowable 5 kilowatt hours.
With the last of the pre-race trialling completed, the next task for each car is scrutineering. The first car to be checked is the local school Dripstone High. The car and its solar array is very carefully measured.
5910.
The rules state that the car, when it is in motion, must be able to fit in an imaginary box 6 meters long and 2 meters wide. The solar cells can only be 4 meters long. The car, however, when stationary, can be tilted in the imaginary box, thereby gaining an extra width of solar cells. This is used to advantage during the race when cars recharge their batteries in the morning before 8 a.m. and after 5 p.m. in the evening, thus increasing their charging rate by 8 to 10%. The minimum height for the driver's eyes when in the car is 700 millimeters. This measurement is carried out using a laser light. Team leader Don Sheraton watches as a rigorous inspection of the car's structure and components is carried out and the checklist completed.
The solution is now going through scrutineering. What sorts of things do they look for?
Oh, they're looking to make sure that we are complying with the spirit of the regulations. For instance, they're using a different system to our view anyway, of putting in the ballast weight.
The drivers of Solution have an average weight of 50 kilograms. The rules allow for a minimum driver weight of 80 kilograms, hence the car has to carry 30 kilograms of lead ballast. Most importantly, the cars have to be roadworthy. The maximum capacity allowed in the battery pack is 5 kilowatt hours. This requirement is checked very carefully to see that a car does not have an unfair advantage. The batteries are sealed, and these seals must reach Adelaide intact. The only part of the car that must complete the course unchanged is the battery pack.
To give one of these cells, which we selected at random from this battery 2 days ago, we gave it a discharge test under certain specifications, and we sat with the battery all night, 20 hours, and we found that it met the specifications, and so we were able to say that this battery meets the race specifications, and this team can now run.
Honda, Aurora and Nissan have only entered one car in this race, but these cars have identical twins which are also put through scrutineering to establish that they conform to the rules. These second cars provide a complete set of spare parts for their twin. Other cars are designed to carry two people, a driver and a passenger. The rules for this class allow the whole car to be covered with solar cells.
Chester, you've seen all the cars going through scrutineering. What are the innovations you've noticed this year?
I'd say real innovations, there are about 3 or 4 that I thought were very, very progressive. One is a motor that's entirely enclosed in the rear wheel, and there are 3 teams that have those. One is Northern Territories University. Dean Patterson, I believe, professor, designed that one. And there's also a wheel motor in Biel, the Swiss team, and Honda, the Japanese team. I think probably the most innovative would be Dean Patterson's motor. It's based upon pancake design, where the rotor and the magnets are located on plates which surround the shaft. And the thing that's unusual about this is, in order to change the speed, the design speed of the motor for optimum efficiency, all you have to do is space the plates together or apart. The motors of Honda and Biel are also very clever. They're based on a drum design, where the windings are stationary and the magnets rotate with the wheel. They're harder to adjust, but on the other hand, potentially they may have a little higher efficiency than Dean Patterson's. But anyway, those are distinctly an improvement because you don't have any transmission losses. If it's 94% efficient or 95% efficient, the motor, then that's exactly how much energy you're putting into the rotor, into the tire, and so you automatically have about a 5% power advantage over someone that uses a transmission. So those cars are going to go a lot faster because of that innovation. The second category of innovations, I think, would be aerodynamics. I think the best treatments probably would be also an Australian car. One is Aurora, which is members of, I think they work for Ford, most of them, Ford of Australia. They have a very short car, very thin car, where the cab is, the canopy, cockpit is right in the middle of the car. It has 2 wheels, it's a tricycle, 2 wheels back and 1 wheel forward. There's only a couple of cars in the race like that, but it's very, very compact design, very thin design. They had a little hard luck putting together the panel. Their epoxy didn't cure right, and so I think they kind of have a little rumple in the panel, and then they have a motor that is an older motor, not so efficient, and so they may not do as well as expected. But if the car was actually running, you could expect them to be up in the top 3 if it was actually running right. They may not do that, but the potential is there. That's a very clever thing. Both Honda and Biel have absolutely optimized everything as far as aerodynamics go. They have absolutely sealed off wheel wells, so there's no airflow through the car from the wheels. They have wheel spats that turn with the wheels, so that there's no loss in aerodynamic losses as the wheels turn. Biel will have all of the seams taped. So in other words, the only airflow that goes through the car are absolutely controlled entry vents. And then Biel has a venturi in the rear so that they recover energy as the air goes out of the car. They've really thought of everything. And beautiful, absolutely smooth, polished design, both Honda and Biel. They're going to be very, very fast. I expect them to beat, both of them, Honda and Biel, to beat the record for the course by probably 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, I think. Both of them will go faster by that much than the Sun Racer, General Motors Sun Racer in 1987. The next, last real innovation is Michelin and Bridgestone have formulated special tires especially for the cars. Michigan, Biel, that's Michelin, and the Ford car, Aurora, have tires that are designed specifically for their car, for their service, and they have a much lower rolling resistance than a standard bicycle tire or the other tires the other team members are using. Honda has tires by Bridgestone and also specially constructed for the car. They're very high pressure. They have, in American terms, 120 to 150 pounds per square inch, and very thin, very supple, very resilient. And they'll roll over asphalt, rough asphalt, with about 1/3 the rolling resistance of an automobile tire. They're very efficient.
Chester, have you observed any developments in technology with the battery systems?
The battery systems are not as innovative. The battery systems are, yes, I'll tell you in a minute, but the battery systems are standard technology, that's commercial technology, nothing special for the cars. The cleverest system I've seen is Aurora, Australian car. They figure that they can charge in the evening sun and the morning sun, which is allowed by the rules. They figure they can pick up about 2 kilowatts hours of energy. So what they've done is they have 2 kilowatt hours of lead acid batteries, and then they have a whole pack, about 3 kilowatt hours of dry lithium batteries. Dry lithium batteries have the highest energy density of any battery in the race. So it's like carrying an extra fuel tank. They have this reserve fuel tank of dry lithium batteries, and then the other ones they'll drain every night and charge every night, hopefully. And it's a very, very logical and clever system. They're the only people that have kind of a dual battery pack that the rest of the people all use silver zinc, very expensive batteries, $30,000 to $60,000 worth of batteries. I think Aurora probably has an equal capability with about the same weight and much, much less expensive.
Now, you've just been through the scrutineering process.
Yeah.
What did they tell you?
The car now is a little bit too long. I changed the solar cells and I didn't check how long it is together now. Before it was less than 6 meters and now it's more. I didn't check it, you know.
Have they penalized you?
Yes, 1 hour. 1 hour penalty, yes.
Will that worry your program?
No. 1 hour is nothing for me, no.
Who is sponsoring you?
My real sponsor is my wife and my daughter. You know, if they not all the time with me, you know, and behind me, then never it will go, you know.
So you are here because of your interest in solar power?
Yes, yes. Makes me crazy, you know.
Maybe you have to be crazy to drive in a stability test where the solar car is passed by a road train, in many cases travelling with a closing speed of over 180 kilometres per hour. One wonders what failure of this test might mean. Toyota 56 passes the braking test. The top speed of a car is measured, and this determines its grid position.
Time for number 1, Spirit of Steel BN, 129.9.
got the car as good as we can get it, but the thing to think about just before the race is that there's large amounts of good and bad luck in this race, and so we're going to be sure how things are going to turn out once the flag drops.
We're all set for race. Batteries are in, ready to go.
Great. What sort of tactics are you planning?
To take it slow through the corner, so it'll be fairly congested through there, and then just take a steady pace. We'll see how the cloud is and the sun, and other than that, Mark will tell me on the radio.
Oh, it looks tremendous for a good start, but this year more than before, we've had so many batteries wanting to be changed, so many seals breaking. We've had about 6 or 7 vehicles we've got to re-scrutinise now, which is very, very difficult. I think for the next race we'll think of a better way of doing it. We've never had this before, it's most unusual. I don't know whether the competitiveness of this race and seals breaking are related or not.
Conditions are better this year, ready for a good start?
Well, it's not raining, so it must be better.
The cars head out on their 3,000-kilometre race. Many millions of dollars have been spent on some of these cars, but in 5 days' time, they will all be out of date. The technology used in this race is developing very quickly. Leading the way is Beale and Honda, followed by Toyota and Kyocera. Then comes Michigan and Solar Eagle, Nissan and Sofix, Ashaya and Aurora, Zero to Darwin, Waseda, George Washington, Pomona and NTU, Sunjoy, the Mino family, Villanova, Morford Vale, New Zealand, Oklahoma, Stanford, Monash Melbourne, Kia Motors, Tokai, the Canadians, then Desire's Evolution. Then comes the Danes. San Diego's Sun Tracker and Doraemon. Sun Tracker takes a wrong turn. Now Meadowbank tapes Sunseeker, Alaris, Solus 4, and Sun Tracker returns to the course. The Puerto Ricans, the all-girls Japanese school entry JCJC, Mitcham Girls High, Helios from Switzerland, Annesley High School, Minichi Go, Solar Flare, Trader, Heliodat, Le Solier, and the Russians. Kyocera is in 3rd place and just 6 minutes behind Honda. On leaving the media stop at Catherine, Honda is just 12 minutes behind Beale. Beale is in the lead, averaging 85 kilometers per hour, but unknown to their team, their car is damaged and is losing ground. Dunmara media stop, and Honda has taken the lead. The cars remain in the media stop for 10 minutes, during which time repairs cannot be made, but tyres are checked and drivers are changed. Honda heads out with Beale hot on their heels. Honda pulls over and stops. It is 5 p.m, official end time to the day's racing. The car's solar array is tilted so as to catch the late afternoon sun's energy to recharge their battery. 24 kilometres back is the Spirit of Beale.
In the morning up to Catherine we had a very good average, and the car proved that it can perform as we have calculated and as we have tested it.
Now, you're 23 kilometres behind Honda. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, we had a bad luck after Catherine. The car went through a little hole in the street, and afterwards there was a little damage in the coverage of the wheel, and the wheel touched this coverage, so the speed slowed down. And it took a certain time until we realized what is the reason for slowing down. First we thought it's the measuring instruments, it's the electronics and things like that. And after a certain while we realized that it must be something in the mechanical, in the tire. Then we stopped, changed, and afterwards the car did as before.
How much time do you think you lost, Martin?
It took about 40 minutes for us, the difference to find out what it was. The difference was 25 kilometers or 20 kilometers. So we lost maybe 12 to 15 kilometers, say 10 minutes.
Now we can tell you that you've finished the day 23 kilometers behind Honda.
Yes.
Do you believe you'll be able to overcome that gap?
Well, we have to believe. We are positive thinking, but they took really then advantage out of the situation, and they wanted to get as much distance to us as they could, and they were pushing. But we don't know how much consumption of their battery energy they took, so the race is still open, and Adelaide is still away from here.
Indeed it is. Well, good luck tomorrow, and I hope you have no more problems.
Well,
Honda finished the day 115 kilometres south of Dunmara and have covered the 745 kilometres from Darwin at an average speed of 86 kilometres per hour. 8 o'clock, the race start time, and the Honda Dream resumes its run. Some 18 minutes later, Beale comes through, running hard.
Further back the field, the most exciting news, I guess, is that the Aurora Q1 team is very well advanced. It's quite well up the field.
Has anyone dropped out?
Yes, quite a number of cars have dropped out, cars I guess that you would have expected to drop out. The Holy Cheat didn't manage to start, the TR50 didn't manage to start, so I guess that's 66% of the teams from the United Kingdom who haven't made it, unfortunately. I saw Professor Popolov a few kilometres south of Darwin having a few problems, but he was moving quite strongly prior to that.
Did the Brazilians get out of Darwin?
The Brazilians and the Team New England from the United States are both the mystery people at the moment. They can't be found.
Midday, and Beale is still in second place. Kyocera is third. Aurora fourth. Toyota fifth. Waseda sixth. And Pomona, the first of the American universities, is in 7th place, just ahead of George Washington, who are in 8th place. The competition between the American universities is fierce, and only minutes separate them. Pomona pulls into the media stop at Tennant Creek. Not only do they change drivers, they also change their passenger.
Bet you want to drive, don't you, Harry? Give it a couple blasts right now. 1 minute. Did you get that?
As Pomona pull out, George Washington rolls in. Michigan is 9th. And Cal State LA are right behind Nissen, who lie in 10th place. The race cannot be closer. 25 years ago, a solar-powered event like this would have been science fiction fantasy.
Off you go.
Honda has reached Alice Springs 9 minutes before the end of the second race day. They have completed half the course, and it looks as though they will reach Adelaide in 4 days. 66 kilometres back is Beale. Kyocera and Aurora are locked together 120 kilometres north of Alice Springs. Aurora charges its lead-acid batteries.
Rod, this is the beginning of day 3 and you're driving the Aurora this morning. What's your current position?
Our current position is that we're lying 4th on the road at the moment. We've got the Kyocera team about 4 k's down here. We could actually see the lights of their camp last night. Back behind us about 100 k's there's a gaggle of 3 or 4 cars, we believe. We don't expect too much of a problem from those. From what we understand, the Kyocera team is slowing down a little, so we're expecting to catch them at some stage through the day. Things are looking quite good.
Now, you drove this vehicle on day 1. How did it perform then?
Quite well. We started on the grid at 17, and by the time we pulled up at the Catherine media stop, we'd actually got up to 4th position. We made some pretty good ground on the other cars through the town on the divided road, and made pretty good ground from there on through.
The Aurora team is one of the very few competitors using extra solar panels for their morning and evening charge.
Rod, do you have to carry the cells with you?
Yes, we do. The rules state that you must carry those panels with you. We have them in the rear of the car. There's a section where they slot in and they're carried with us through the day. The weight's not all that significant. It's only a few kilos, so well worth the extra effort.
Well, the team wants you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
At the media stop in Alice Springs, Kyocera attracts people's attention. It is in 3rd place, but as Kyocera leaves, Aurora rolls in. As Aurora departs Alice Springs, Waseda, Toyota, Pomona, George Washington and Cal State LA run down through the hills into Alice Springs. Moving up through the field is the Northern Territory entrant Desert Rose, who is becoming a real challenger. BPAL, having missed the turn-off to Adelaide, get back on course. Dark clouds are building over Central Australia. Honda is an incredible 116 kilometres south of Cooper Pedy. Beale is 129 kilometres behind them, and 261 kilometres further back are Kyocera and Aurora. NTU prepare for the day's run.
Dean, it's the start of day 4. You're 123 kilometres south of Alice Springs. How's the Desert Rose running?
Extraordinarily well. We've had 4 tyre failures across the days and 1 electronic failure, which was actually in commercial equipment, and a subsequent, when we fixed it, didn't quite get it right. We had to stop for another 20 minutes. We've lost 40 minutes over that, but otherwise running extraordinarily well.
You're in amongst a group of American universities. Is the competition tough?
It's fascinating. These are the people who stayed with us at Northern Territory University, so they're friends of ours and colleagues of ours and great competitors. We're having a lot of fun with them. morning.
Last night there was quite a bit of cloud cover. Did that affect your charge?
In fact, everything fell right for us yesterday. We got very strong charge yesterday morning. We set a strategy for yesterday and ended up not using anything like the amount of energy that we had set aside. So we could have... So we actually calculated that it was going to be claggy last night, and if it had not been, our batteries would be overcharged now. We're right on top right now. We're in great position.
Deanie, you're charging well this morning.
Yeah, we're doing this array of Martin Greens is amazing. We're getting 1250 watts hot running along in the day, 1300 when it cools, and right now we're getting 1100 watts, and we're pouring into the battery.
Sounds like you're looking for a good day.
Yeah, we're looking for a good day, but the wet may go bad on us. Our Met predictions are the clags up later on today, so we have to be a little bit conservative this morning.
Well, all the best.
Thanks, Terry.
Behind NTU and Michigan are BPEL and Nissan and Stanford University. Solar Kiwi and Mabuki are trying to keep ahead of heavy rain clouds. Later in the day, Solar Kiwi is lifted 3 meters into the air by a windstorm and hurled 25 meters along the roadway, fortunately landing on its wheels. It's the vagaries of the weather that add a large measure of unpredictability to this race. The Monash Melbourne car, along with other competitors, is travelling under heavy rain cloud.
Lisa, it's very heavy cloud tonight. I presume you're not going to get much of a charge out of it.
No, I don't think so. But we'll see what happens. We don't know exactly. We've got a good run downhill tomorrow into Alice Springs, so that might help us there. And who knows what the weather is tomorrow.
What was your position on the starting grid?
We were 29th on the grid, and at the start of the race, I think we passed around about 10 cars. So we've been consistent around about the 20th mark, passing a few cars, and then other cars would pass us.
Has Solution been reliable?
Yes, it's very reliable. We've had no breakdowns. We've had 4-minute driver changes, and the majority of the driver changes have been at media stops. So that's a 6-hour stint for one driver, and 5 hours for 4 hours. But the car's been very reliable, which is good.
Let's hope for a sunny morning.
Yeah, so do I.
As Honda approaches Adelaide, Tokai University and Monash Melbourne car Solution accelerate down the hills into the Alice Springs media stop.
Under these heavily clouded conditions, how do you expect to go south of Alice Springs?
Well, looking at the maps, we've had the faxes through. It's going to be like this for a long way down the road. Under these conditions, very, very tough. We'll see how we go. If we've got a bit of a tailwind, if the tailwind stops, with this extra weight in the car, we might just have to pull up on the side of the road and just wait for something to happen.
Still 1,600 kilometres from the finishing line, the race is being fought out. The cars are incredibly close, and each team is doing its best to hold their vehicle's position.
Lils, it's heavily overcast. How's your battery charging?
Nearly nothing. We've been standing 10 kilometers north of Alice Springs for an hour, just charging, but we don't get anything at all. We nearly didn't manage to get here to Alice Springs.
Are you expecting or hoping, I suppose, to pick anything up as you move along?
We hope so, yeah. But the weather forecast isn't very good, so I don't know.
Solven, Denmark and the Mino family leave Alice Springs, but some stay behind.
Official observer at the Alice Springs pit stop. And what time did Pandasan come in?
Panderson arrived Alice Springs 11:58 this morning.
They haven't left. What's the problem?
Well, actually, their team manager's going shopping. There's no mechanical, no technology problems at all, no.
They're obviously a highly competitive group.
They are. They are, and they're hungry too.
You're an observer. How often do you change vehicles?
The observers change at pit stops, media stops they're called. And Tennant Creek, I've changed from another team. We get to Cagney Homestead, I'll be swapped again now.
Do you have a break between cars?
If we're lucky, yes. We get at least 10 minutes to shower.
You have slept on the road?
Yes. I had one night on a bed in the camper van near the solar car at Warhope. But the other nights it's been on rocks in my sleeping bag under the stars.
Enjoying that?
Beautiful, yes.
Later in the day, Annesley College and Alaris drive down into Alice Springs. Annesley breaks down, and Dripstone High School passes them. But Dripstone now head out into a storm.
Megan, coming into Alice Springs, you were about an hour ahead of Dripstone High School. Now they're ahead of you. What happened?
Well, we had a few problems coming in. We had a lot of problems with the weather today. It's been very cloudy and that blocks the sun getting through, of course. But when we came into Alice Springs, we blew a motor controller. We're fixing that tonight, but because of that problem, Dripstone has got ahead of us. But we're still hoping to start off tomorrow and we'll continue to go well.
It should be very exciting, Megan, because I think there'll be 4 cars on the starting line.
I know. It's just going to be like the start of the race again. They'll be all ready to go and they'll probably be passing each other all day, but I really love it. It's great.
A world record is about to be established here. Welcome
At 8:30 this morning, the Honda Dream crossed the finishing line, completing the race in 35 hours 38 minutes, beating the General Motors record by 10 hours. Honda averaged 85 kilometers per hour. Second was Beale. Only 25 minutes separated Kyocera, Waseda and Aurora. All 5 cars broke the original record set by General Motors in 1987. Dripstone soaks up the morning sun.
Rory, last night the storm came in. Tell us about how that affected you.
Well, it almost caught us unawares. We'd had good sunshine for that last little run into Alice Springs. Coming out of Alice Springs, we came through Heavy Tree Gap, turned right at the airport, and suddenly there was this dust storm racing towards us. And within a matter of minutes, we had to call the convoy to a screaming halt, quickly load the car into the trailer. And despite that, we still got hit by it. We suffered some damage to the panel because of the rapid change in temperature. But other than that, the car will be up and running again tomorrow.
Now, clearly Dripstone haven't entered expecting to beat Honda. Why is it Dripstone participates in the World Solar Challenge?
Well, the school always has fostered the concept that education goes beyond the classroom walls. And through a variety of programs, of which one is the Solar Car Project, we provide real educational learning opportunities for our students.
Kia Motors, Solar Flare and Annesley College leave the Alice Springs media stop together. Solar Flare passes Annesley on the outskirts of Alice Springs. General Motors Holden Automotive are supporting 2 Australian universities and 4 Australian schools in this World Solar Challenge, as well as being one of the main sponsors of the race. Up ahead, Oklahoma University runs through the desert alone. Cagney Homestead media stop. The media have left, but the cars keep on coming through. The officials time them and send them on their way.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Somebody give him a push?
Well, that do you?
Well, it spins the wheel, it sits there, doesn't it?
The Monash Melbourne vehicle stops for the night, 78 kilometres north of Cooper Pedy. 9 cars reach the finishing line on day 6. Toyota, NTU, Cal Poly, George Washington, BPAL, Michigan, Nissan, Cal State LA and Stanford. Only minutes separate some of these cars.
Mark, Honda arrived in Adelaide yesterday. They averaged around 86 kilometres per hour for the entire trip. What do you think that says about the importance of aerodynamics?
Well, you can do the numbers. Once you get up to even medium speeds, aerodynamics is just about everything. The rolling resistance, the percentage rolling resistance drops. It's very important. I think we might have come to as far as we can go with this car.
So, if you participate in another, what do you think you've learned from this event?
Well, we can see how it performed this time. They've got the reliability up, the electrical systems are up. Just the mechanical performance of the car, all the mechanical systems of the car have performed excellently. I think it's just about all transferred straight across to a new body design.
So you would want to take better advantage of the aerodynamics that others have been using?
I think we have to. There's a reason why all Formula 1 cars are the same shape.
On the morning of day 7, Monash Melbourne's Solution heads south through Cooper Pedy.
This event has seen 94% efficiency at the rear wheel. If we transfer the technology from these cars into ordinary cars and make hybrids, we could probably have a rear wheel efficiency around 34 to 38% instead of the now less than 20% efficiency at the rear wheel. So it's time to transfer technology from the event into today's type motor cars.
So the event has made a positive contribution to engineering in general?
The event has made more than a positive contribution to engineering. It has proven that engineering is what the world's all about, and engineers know how to solve problems. So to me, it is the whole event establishes that engineering is what it's all about. And it is absolute proof of that. Give the problem to a bunch of engineers and they will solve it.
At 3:46 p.m. on day 7, Solar Kiwi crosses the finish line, followed by Sunjoy 21 minutes later. During day 8, Sofix is the only car to cross the line. On day 9, the first car to finish is Tokai with an average speed of 40.5 kilometres per hour. Next to arrive is Monash Melbourne. Having finished the race, the car is weighed, the battery seals are inspected, and team photographs are taken. Next in is Asaya's laughing son, followed by the Mino family, Oklahoma, and the Danish car Solven Denmark. On the 10th day, Ashaya reached the line. Then Dripstone, Pandasun, Solar Flare, Kia Motors, Alaris, and the Annesley College.
Mr. Iwata, yes. Do you plan to be present in 1996?
No, not yet. Not yet. And the Honda company haven't had a conclusion yet because they are waiting what was happening this time. And I go back to Japan and I will discuss. But I personally very, very much like to come back to participate again.
You have challenged General Motors America.
I broke their record, their very historical great record set 1987. I did it, so I like them to come back again to beat my new record this time again.
You must be very pleased with the performance of your team.
Yes, it was. And I want to, because General Motors Sunracer is my teacher car, so I very much like to run together with next Sunracer again for 3 years later.
Well, it was a magnificent victory and we congratulate you.
Thank you very much.